Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to Sci-Finatics. Well, today we're talking about, unfortunately, the season finale for Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 1, which is episode 10, entitled A Quality of Mercy. Or should we call it A Balance of Terror version 2. It was a lot of fun, this last episode of the season. We had pretty much a parallel episode to original series Balance of Terror episode. So many scenes were just word for word, same script, same dialogue, same events, just Pike's version of events rather than Kirk's. So what a lot of fun this episode was. What a great hark back to that original episode from original Star Trek. What a great action-packed, interesting time travel story that we've got to round out the season. In a lot of ways, it reminded me of Strange New Worlds' version of yesterday's Enterprise. I was on the edge of my seat for most of the episode, and I thought it was a great send-off to our opening season for Strange New Worlds. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to Sci-Finatics yet, please do so. Please click on that big red button to stay up to date with all the latest Star Trek and sci-fi TV news on YouTube. Because today we're going to go through the season finale of Strange New Worlds Season 1, break down all of those bits and pieces from the episode, all those parallels to Balance of Terror. So let's take a look at our season finale of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 1, A Quality of Mercy. So this episode opens up with Pike having another rendezvous with his, I don't know, would you call her Pike's girlfriend? Captain Battelle. Obviously we saw Captain Battelle in episode 1, and we're seeing her kind of pop in again in episode 10, just to check in with Pike, I guess, have some nice food, because he's obviously a good chef, and just have a briefing about what activities are going on in the area. We then get to see that the Enterprise is doing some check-in, supplying some materials and long-awaited services to Outpost 4, which is one of the asteroid outposts along the neutral zone. Going back to the trailer and the sneak peek scene of this episode, we knew this was going to be a Balance of Terror heavy homage episode, because we've got the asteroid base, we've got all of the other asteroid bases that, you know, are going on along the neutral zone. Our commander of our asteroid base has changed slightly. Originally, our commander was an old white dude named Commander Hansen, and now our commander is Hansen El Salah. And it turns out that Commander El Salah's son, Mart, is one of the cadets that gets killed in the Pike accident in 7 years' time. So we kind of thought this is going to be an interesting dilemma for Pike, whether he lets Mart know about the events that result in his ending up in a wheelchair and obviously Mart losing his life. And this is where things get really interesting in our pre-title teaser for this episode, where we get, and this is like one of these moments in the episode where you just go, oh yes, we've got Captain Pike in a original series feature film uniform, who's come back in time somehow by the use of the Klingon time crystals from Boreth. And based on the uniform, this would be Pike of about 20 years in the future. And to give current day Pike a bit of a lesson about whether or not he should muck about with the timeline and inform Mart El Salah the events that result in his death. And this is where this episode is like, oh yes, okay. So the timeline changes. Suddenly, all of a sudden, Pike's not in the wheelchair anymore. He hasn't retired. Kirk hasn't taken over the Enterprise in 7 years' time, and Pike is still in command, with Kirk stepping in as captain of the Farragut after the incident with him and that entity or whatever that was killing people, and he was one of the survivors, and he's obviously taken command of the Farragut. And Pike didn't retire, he stayed captain of the Enterprise. And this whole episode, from this moment on, basically just is like how Pike would do Balance of Terror as opposed to Kirk. Yes, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a great episode. I mean, even just seeing Pike in the red, original series feature film uniform was alone. That was just like, oh, this is cool. And we get so many moments in this episode where we just get mirror versions of the events of Balance of Terror. So we start off with Pike conducting the wedding that was going on at the start of Balance of Terror. They've almost, I think in these scenes, have taken the dialogue literally word for word what Kirk says in those episodes when he's marrying the couple at the start of the Balance of Terror. And we've got Pike in the cargo bay doing exactly the same thing. We've got the Outpost 4 under attack. We've got it commanded by, Hansen, El Salah, as opposed to just Commander Hansen, but he's still a Hansen, that's okay. We've got the comm badge on his jacket, looking exactly the same as it did, or very similar at least, to the one that we saw Hansen wearing in original series. There are all these parallels that mirror the events of Balance of Terror, and it's like, you just sort of waiting to see what moments they're going to tick off in this episode. But it was a lot of fun. We saw Kirk in command of the Farragut, and obviously they're rendezvousing with the Enterprise and being involved as well with the situation that's going on. There was sort of a bit of a different take on the situation. So obviously the Enterprise was alone when it happened back in the original series. This time it was kind of a co-mission between the Enterprise and the Farragut under the command of Kirk. So this time we had kind of Kirk's style of command, and how that blended with Pike's style of command. On Kirk's version, we had Styles and Sulu on the bridge with Pike, and in this version, we had Ortegas taking over pretty much most of the kind of sentiment that was coming out of Styles' mouth in original series. I think Ortegas just kind of pretty much took the reins to play out Styles' dialogue from original series. The only aspect I didn't like about this episode is the casting of Captain Kirk. I didn't like Paul Wesley in this role at all.
Shut up, Wesley.
I don't think he exuded the charisma of William Shatner. I don't think he exuded the swagger of William Shatner. I just didn't see any essence of William Shatner's portrayal of Kirk in Paul Wesley's version of Kirk. As a comparison, Chris Pine, who played young Kirk in the Kelvin Star Trek feature films, I think he exuded the Shatner charisma and the Shatner swagger and everything in the Kirk portrayal far closer than what Paul Wesley did. I didn't see much comparison in Paul Wesley's performance to Kirk. It was a fine performance. If it had just been, Starship Captain, blank, coming in from another ship, I think his performance was perfectly good. But coming in as Captain James Tiberius Kirk, that we all know and love from William Shatner's performance, I think Paul Wesley's performance was a bit meh. I was looking really hard for some Kirk sparkle that would give me some sort of link to William Shatner performance of Kirk, and I just didn't see it. I enjoyed the scene with Pike kind of having a bit of a conference with Sam Kirk, kind of asking him a bit about his brother, what he's like as a Starfleet captain, all this kind of thing, giving him a bit of the lowdown. That was kind of fun, just seeing what Sam Kirk had to say about his brother Jim Kirk. And look, fantastic to see the Romulans appear almost word for word how it happened in Balance of Terror, the way they were revealed. They were able to tap into their bridge communications and see what they looked like. And I think even the shot when the camera zoomed into Spock's face and he did the eyebrow raise was almost shot-for-shot remake of what we saw in the original series. So it's like great fan service in these moments in this episode. And kind of what I suspected played out in this episode in terms of, in the Kirk version, Spock wanted to attack the Romulans, Kirk wanted to attack the Romulans, whereas Pike wanted to negotiate with the Romulans. And that's kind of where things went wrong, is that they were obviously meant to show strength, attack the Romulans, and that didn't play out. We had Pike trying to negotiate, trying to create a peace, which didn't work. And that was the difference in the timeline that played out in this series of events that kind of led to a massive Romulan war with the Federation. It was cool to see the Romulans showing their strength, destroying the Farragut or crippling it, severely, so that the Farragut crew had to get beamed on board the Enterprise. Cool to see Lan as the first officer under Kirk on board the Farragut. That was fun. And interesting to learn about the fact that Una is not with us. She's in jail and has been arrested for breaching, Federation law. And hiding her augmentations. I like the fact that Kirk did his little sneaky maneuver to go and get all those mining ships to help create a ruse to confuse the Romulans that there was a much larger Federation fleet than there actually was. We didn't get to see Scotty in this episode, but we heard Scotty's voice in this episode, so that makes me wonder whether or not we're going to be seeing Scotty come into the show as our chief engineer for for season 2 of Strange New Worlds, because obviously poor old Hemmer is no longer with us, and the Enterprise is in need of a new chief engineer, so we'll see if Scotty comes in for next season. I think seeing the Romulans in this episode was great. I loved the Romulan uniforms. I like there was particular attention to those magenta sashes that the Romulans wore in Balance of Terror with the triangles on them. The costume designer obviously went to great effort to give us the same sort of flavour or feel from that original series episode in their uniforms, which I think really was great. And also the fact that the Romulans were kind of all standing on the bridge and there were consoles and everything that was sort of reminiscent of how it was configured in original series. Seeing the Romulan fleet warp in and everything with a lot of different styles of Romulan vessels I think was really good. We didn't just get a Star Trek Picard season 1 finale where it was a cut and paste job with all the different birds of prey. We actually got a few different Romulan classes of ship in there, which I think was nice to see. And I think even the scene with the Romulan commander kind of surrendering or whatever, and in this case getting blown out of the sky by other Romulans for showing weakness, but in original series he self-destructed the ship instead of being captured by Kirk in the original series episode. But the dialogue in terms of between him and Pike and talking about being friends in another time and place and everything, I think, rang true to our original series episode. That was very, very similar. After the battle with the Romulans, in the original series, I think it was the husband of the couple that was due to get married in the start of the episode ended up getting killed in the battle with the Romulans, whereas in Pike's version, it was the wife that was killed in the conflict there. So just a little difference there in the married couple that appears at the start of the episode. And instead of Pike ending up in a wheelchair, crippled and everything like he does in his visions, it's actually Spock that ends up with this affliction at the end of the episode. So he's so badly injured from explosions and radiation damage and everything from the battle with the Romulans that basically Spock has the same outcome that Pike would have after the end of this ordeal. And as we kind of figured what would happen at the end of this episode, we see Pike deleting his message to Mutt El Salah so that he never finds out about the events and that the timeline stays intact, which is kind of what we thought would end up happening. I think Pike, has been struggling all season with the events of his demise, but now at least he knows that he needs to come to terms with it and just let it happen, because if it doesn't, then even worse galactic-wide circumstances are going to happen that throw the whole Alpha Quadrant into war and everything that's, far, far worse than just him ending up in a wheelchair. I guess it was hinted at halfway through this episode in terms of Una ending up in prison for deceptive conduct or whatever, hiding her genetics and everything. But I was kind of surprised to see Captain Battelle, Pike's girlfriend, show up at the end to haul Una off to prison. That was kind of surprising. I kind of didn't expect that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in season 2 in terms of whether there's some sort of court case or she's pardoned or what happens, because we know she's got to come back. It maybe, but maybe she has to explain herself and put her conduct into context a bit more for the Federation, so they don't feel quite so bad about her situation. All in all, love this episode. What a great season finale. We had action. We had so many homages to Balance of Terror in both dialogue, characterizations, costumes. It was so fun to watch this episode, having just watched Balance of Terror again and just seeing all the little mirror moments in this episode. So what a fun ride it was to go on for this season finale episode of Strange New Worlds. And I can't believe that's it. That's our first season of Strange New Worlds. I loved it. I think it's been a really strong first season of the show. I can't wait for season 2. I'm sort of starting to think, well, hang on, when were they filming season 2? They started filming it a while ago. They're almost finished. Maybe we'll get it soon. That bring on season 2 as fast as possible, please, because season 1 was fantastic. First foray into Star Trek Strange New Worlds. What a ride. Guys, as always, please leave your thoughts in the comments section. What did you think of the season finale of this show? Did you like A Quality of Mercy? Did you love the fact that it was flashbacks and a retelling of Balance of Terror? What did you think of Paul Wesley as Captain Kirk? Did you enjoy his performance, or did you think it was not quite William Shatnery enough? Let me know what you thought of Balance of Terror version 2 or A Quality of Mercy, episode 10, the season finale of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Guys, please leave a super thanks if you're able to. It really helps the channel out. Much appreciated. Like and comment, share this video with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And please check out my merch in the merch store, where you can pick up all my Star Trek themed t-shirts, hoodies, mugs and caps and everything for great bargain prices. And I'll catch you guys very soon with the next video. I'll see you soon.